I had spent months carefully planning my sister's baby shower. But when I walked into Sophie's living room, decorations in one hand, a gift in the other, my heart stopped. The party had already happened, without me. Plates and half-eaten cake still cluttered the table. Wrapping paper was scattered across the floor. A few deflated balloons bobbed lazily on the backs of chairs. The whole place radiated that unmistakable after-party air. Something big had just happened, and I wasn't part of it. My eyes flicked around the room, swallowing hard. Mom sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone like none of this was strange. A few of Sophie's friends giggled in the corner. And there, by the kitchen counter, stood my sister, the one I'd done all this for, her eyes locked on mine, wide and guilty. "Emily," she started, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. But before she could finish, a cheerful voice rang from the dining room, careless, loud. "Sophie, did you see the pictures I sent from the shower? That cake was amazing." The shower, it hit me like a punch to the gut. I turned back to Sophie, my fingers tightening around the crinkling bag. "You already had one." Her mouth opened, but no sound came. She looked like a deer in headlights. "Oh, it wasn't a big thing," she blurted, waving a hand like she could wave this all away. "Just something my friends threw together. Totally last minute. I meant to tell you." Meant to tell me, I just stared. My thoughts spun, unraveling. I had coordinated invitations, chosen the theme, juggled everyone's schedules, booked catering, spent weeks hand-making decorations, even planned an activity where people could write letters for the baby to open at 18. I had worked extra hours, saved up for a gift. A memory book filled with old photos and handwritten notes from Sophie's childhood. A legacy for her child. And all along she'd known. Knew there was already a shower. Let me build something. That was never going to happen. My stomach turned as I scanned the room again. Faces I'd invited, already here. They'd played the games, eaten the cake, given the gifts, and not one of them had wondered where I was. I felt like a fool, standing there with my bag of decorations, like some clueless extra who'd wandered into the credits. Sophie must have seen it on my face. She rushed in. "Emily, we can still do yours. It'll be like a second shower. More gifts, more fun, right?" She laughed, brittle, glancing toward Mom for backup. But Mom didn't even look up from her phone. Like this didn't matter, like I didn't matter. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't a mistake. They hadn't forgotten me, I just hadn't been included. Sophie wasn't sorry, she was just caught. I swallowed the lump in my throat, breathed out slow. "No, Sophie." She blinked. "No what?" she asked, her voice tight with disbelief. I shifted the bag in my hand and said, as calmly as I could, "I'm not throwing a second shower." For a moment she just stared, like the words didn't make sense. Then she gave a nervous laugh. "Come on, don't be dramatic. This doesn't have to be a big deal." But it was a big deal. I had spent months imagining this day, picturing Sophie walking into a room filled with people who loved her, eyes wide with surprise, face lit up with gratitude. I'd imagined her hugging me, saying, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Instead, she hadn't even noticed I wasn't there. I placed the bag of decorations on the counter, slowly, deliberately. Then I set the gift beside it, carefully wrapped, lovingly chosen. Sophie's brow furrowed. "What are you doing?" "I'm leaving," I said. She stepped forward, voice sugary smooth, too cheerful, too practiced. "Emily, come on, you're overreacting." Overreacting, that word again. I'd heard it so many times, from her, from everyone. Every time she crossed a line. Every time I spoke up. Every time I let it slide. But not this time. I stepped back, kept my voice steady. "You should open the gift. You'll like it." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. I turned, walked to the door, heart hammering. No one stopped me, no one followed. No one even asked if I was okay. Outside, the cold air slapped my face. I walked to my car, climbed in, shut the door, sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at the house I had once called home. And for the first time, I saw it. I had always been the reliable one, the planner, the fixer, the one who remembered birthdays, who made the effort. And Sophie, she took. Always had. I told myself it didn't matter, that it was just how our family worked, that I was fine being the dependable one. But standing in that living room, surrounded by laughter, by cake crumbs and curling ribbons, I realized it did matter. More than I ever wanted to admit. I drew a shaky breath, started the car, and pulled away without looking back. I didn't call Sophie, didn't call Mom, didn't ask why. I let the silence hang, because deep down I knew they were about to feel my absence. I didn't go home, I just drove. Around the block, down streets I barely noticed. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. I didn't even know what I was feeling. Anger, shame, sorrow so deep it hollowed me out. All I knew was, I couldn't believe this had happened. I had given months of my life to planning something beautiful, something for Sophie. I'd poured in time, money, love, and she had let me carry it all, let me chase something that never existed. I finally pulled into my apartment complex, turned off the car, and just sat there, staring at my hands still trembling in my lap. The worst part wasn't even what she did. The worst part was that I wasn't surprised. Because deep down, I had always known Sophie was like this. I don't know why it took me so long to admit it. Why I spent my whole life making excuses for her, convincing myself she'd grow up, change, care. Maybe it was the older sister in me, the one taught to be responsible, the one expected to smooth things over, to forgive, to be the bigger person. And maybe, just maybe, I'd always known she'd never do the same for me. Sophie had always been the golden child, effortlessly charming, the one who made people laugh, who always got what she wanted without ever asking twice. Everyone adored her, especially our parents. Me, I was the practical one, the dependable one, the one who didn't need attention or extra help. And so, I didn't get it. It had started small. Moments that should have been red flags. But I brushed them off. Like the time I saved up for weeks to buy myself a backpack I loved. Sophie saw it, wanted it, and the next day, Mom was gently suggesting I give it to her. Because Sophie really wanted it. Or the time in high school she borrowed my favorite dress for a party, promised she'd return it. I never saw it again. And when I asked, she just rolled her eyes and said, "God, Emily, it's just a dress." Then there was college, when she called me crying, on the verge of failing a class. I spent weeks tutoring her, late nights, detailed notes, flashcards. She passed. She never even said thank you. And now, this. I had poured months into planning her baby shower, labored over every detail, made it perfect. And she hadn't even thought to invite me to the one she actually had. I closed my eyes, breathed deep. Because this wasn't about the baby shower, not really. It was about a lifetime of being overlooked, a lifetime of being taken for granted. I had told myself it wasn't personal, that this was just how Sophie was. But standing in her living room, staring at the wreckage of a party I was never meant to attend, I finally saw it clearly. It was personal. She chose not to include me, chose to let me waste my time, chose to take my effort, my love, and toss it aside like it was nothing. And I was done pretending that didn't matter. I picked up my phone. My thumb hovered over Mom's contact. I almost called. Almost. But I stopped. Because I already knew what she'd say. "Oh, Emily, don't make this into a big thing. You know Sophie didn't mean it. She probably just forgot." I could already hear her tone, soft, dismissive, excusing away my pain like it didn't deserve space. I wasn't doing that anymore. I wasn't going to beg for understanding. I wasn't going to argue or explain or try to make someone else see my worth. I set the phone down, grabbed a blanket, curled up on the couch, exhaustion finally crashing in. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to fix anything. I just felt tired. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Hey, are you mad at me?" I stared at the screen. Was she serious? She had left me out of the most important moment of her pregnancy. And this was her question. She had let me spend months planning a shower that was never going to happen. Let me walk in, arms full of decorations, heart full of hope, only to be humiliated in front of her friends like some clueless outsider. And now she had the nerve to ask if I was mad. I locked my phone without replying. A few hours later, another text. Mom said you're not answering her either. Can you just talk to us? Still, I said nothing. Let them sit with it. A day passed. Then my mom called. I let it ring, straight to voicemail. She called again, this time left a message. Emily, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're being really unfair to Sophie. She's pregnant. She doesn't need this kind of stress right now. My jaw clenched. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just another reminder Sophie's feelings came first. I deleted the voicemail without listening twice. Later, a text from my dad. Hey kiddo, Mom's worried. Call her when you get a chance. That was it. No mention of what happened. No attempt to understand why I might be hurting. Just the quiet expectation that I'd be the one to fix it all. Again. But I wasn't going to. For years, Sophie had taken me for granted, and for years, I had let her. Not anymore. I wasn't going to explain myself. Wasn't going to justify my hurt. Wasn't going to chase after an apology that was never coming. I was going to do nothing. And let them feel what it was like to be left out. No replies, no calls, just silence. At first it was almost funny how fast the panic set in. Sophie's text shifted quick, from passive-aggressive to guilt-tripping. Emily, seriously? Are you going to ignore your pregnant sister? Then, hours later, I get that you're upset, but this is really childish. And finally, the classic. I can't believe you'd do this to me. As if I was the one who'd done something wrong. As if she was the one who'd been excluded. I still didn't answer. Then Mom ramped up, started soft. Sweetie, I think you're blowing this out of proportion. Then firm. This isn't just about you, Emily. Your sister is pregnant. She needs support. And then, annoyed. I don't know why you're acting like this, but you need to talk to Sophie and sort this out. So I said nothing, because for the first time in my life, I wanted them to feel what it was like to be invisible. No texts, no calls, no checking in. No pretending everything was fine, just to keep the peace. I disappeared. And apparently, that was a problem. By the end of the week, my dad finally called. Not my mom, not Sophie, my dad. And that almost made me pick up. Because Dad never got involved in drama. He stayed out of it, let Mom handle the emotions, the chaos. He was the quiet one, the peacekeeper, the path of least resistance kind of man. The fact that he was calling, that meant they were worried. I let it ring. He left a voicemail. Emily, hey. I don't know what's going on, but your mom and Sophie are really upset. Can you just give me a call back? Let's talk. I stared at the phone, weighing it. Then I deleted the message. I wasn't playing their game anymore, not this time. Let them be the ones chasing after me. The next few days passed in silence. Almost too quiet, until Saturday. A new message. Hey, Em, are you coming to the family dinner tomorrow? I'd love to see you. Aunt Lisa, family dinner. I blinked at the text, a sudden knot forming in my chest. This wasn't just a casual meal. This was the dinner, one of the big ones. All the aunts, uncles, cousins, people flying in. Every chair filled. Laughter spilling from every room. And no one had told me. Not my mom, not Sophie. They had planned it without me. I stared at the screen, breath catching in my throat. But this time, something was different. Someone noticed. My aunt had noticed I was missing. Now I had a choice. I could stay home. Let them talk, roll their eyes, call me dramatic. Or I could show up. I texted back. I'll be there. The next evening, I walked into my parents' house. The room went still. I didn't make a scene, didn't raise my voice. I just walked in, calm, steady, like I belonged there. Because I did. My mom was the first to react. She stood a little too quickly. Oh, Emily, you made it. Her voice had a nervous tremble. Good. Across the room, Sophie froze. Her face going pale. I smiled. Yeah, Aunt Lisa invited me. Figured I'd drop by. I saw it. The quick glance my mom shot at Sophie. The way Sophie swallowed hard. The hushed shuffling of cousins exchanging looks. They knew. They knew I hadn't been invited. This wasn't some accident. It was deliberate. And suddenly, it wasn't just my problem anymore. I took my seat at the table, calm as ever. Sophie avoided my gaze. My mom kept her smile plastered on a little too tight, her laugh a little too sharp. The tension hovered over everything, invisible but suffocating. And then, midway through the meal, my uncle, bless his no-filter soul, spoke up. He glanced between Sophie and me, fork in hand. "Okay, what's going on?" Silence fell again. I raised an eyebrow, tone light. "What do you mean?" "You two," he said, gesturing with his fork. "You're acting weird." Sophie let out a short, tight laugh. "Nothing's going on." But my uncle just frowned. "Really? 'Cause I heard you had a baby shower, and that Emily planned one too." The air thickened. Someone muttered, "Oh shh, tea," under their breath. Sophie looked like a deer in headlights. Cornered. I didn't say a word, just sipped my drink and waited. And then, something beautiful happened. My aunt turned to Sophie, eyebrows knit in genuine confusion. "Wait, you had a baby shower?" she asked. "Why didn't Emily go?" The second those words hit the air, I saw Sophie's mask falter. Her expression shifted, tightening with panic. She knew there was no way to spin this without looking bad. And Sophie? She hated looking bad. She forced a brittle smile, voice sticky sweet. "I meant to tell her." I tilted my head, calm and clear. "Really? Because you never did." All eyes turned to her now, the family members who hadn't known, the ones who had just assumed I'd been there, the ones who were realizing, right now, that Sophie had deliberately left me out. For the first time, I saw her flustered, not just uncomfortable, unraveled. She laughed, a weak, shaky sound, shaking her head. "It wasn't like that." "So what was it like?" my uncle asked, leaning in. Sophie's face flushed deep red. She looked at our mom, silently pleading. But even Mom looked uneasy now, because she knew. This wasn't something she could smooth over, not this time. And Sophie? She was out of exits. She took a shaky breath and turned to me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And the thing was, I believed her. Not because it was perfect or dramatic or tear-filled, but because for the first time, Sophie wasn't hiding, she was facing it. The guilt, the truth, the room full of people finally seeing her clearly. Was I ready to forgive her? Not yet, but watching her squirm, watching her finally feel the consequences. Yeah, that was a start. She sat there, red-faced, staring at her plate, fingers twisting in her lap. And no one came to save her, not even Mom. And that was the part that hit hardest. Sophie had spent her whole life charming her way out of corners. But now she'd built one too tight to slip through. She exhaled slowly, then met my eyes. I messed up. I stayed silent, let the moment hang. I wanted her to sit in it, to feel every uncomfortable second, to get it, that this wasn't something she could laugh off, excuse, or erase. I didn't do it to hurt you," she said, voice cracking. I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't invite me to your baby shower," I said, my tone even, unwavering. "But you let me plan another one. For months." Her jaw tensed. She glanced around the table, seeing that every pair of eyes was locked on her, waiting. "I should have told you," she said, the words dragging out like they hurt. I thought you'd be mad, or that you'd make it a big deal, or—" "You knew I'd be mad," I cut in, a bitter laugh slipping out. "Because you knew it was wrong, Sophie. You knew you were leaving me out, and you just didn't want to deal with it." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because there was nothing left to say. She had known. She just never thought I'd actually do anything about it. I leaned back in my chair, arms folded across my chest. "So why now?" she blinked. "What? Why are you apologizing now?" I asked, tilting my head. "You didn't care before. You didn't care when I showed up to your house with decorations and gifts like some idiot. You didn't care when I stopped answering your texts. So, why do you care now?" Her face flushed deeper, because she knew, because she had been caught. And for once, the family wasn't rallying to her defense. She let out a shaky breath, her hands curling into fists on the table. "Because I miss you," she said softly, barely more than a whisper. That stopped me cold. I'd braced myself for excuses. For another round of "you're being dramatic," or "it wasn't that big of a deal." But this felt different. This felt real. I studied her, searching her face for the usual signs: manipulation, deflection, performance. But I didn't see them. She looked small, not the Sophie who always stole the spotlight. Not the Sophie who could charm her way out of anything. Just my sister. And for the first time in a long time, she actually looked sorry. I exhaled slowly, tapping my fingers against the table. I don't know if I can just forgive you, I said, voice steady. Because this isn't just about the baby shower. It's everything. It's every time you've taken me for granted. Every time you've made me feel invisible. She nodded, eyes dropping to her hands. I know. And maybe she didn't fully know. Not yet, but maybe, just maybe, she was starting to. The silence around the table was thick, the kind that pressed against your chest. I could feel my mom fidgeting beside me, itching to jump in and patch things up. But she didn't. For once, she let Sophie sit in the discomfort. Sophie cleared her throat, offered a tentative smile. Can we try again? I know I screwed up, but I don't want to lose you. And the worst part? I believed her. I believed that she didn't want to lose me. But that didn't mean I could just forget everything. I need time, I said. I can't pretend this didn't happen. She nodded quickly. Of course. Yeah, I get it. And for once, she wasn't pushing. She wasn't trying to rush the forgiveness or force me to move on just because she was uncomfortable. She was actually listening, and that was new. Dinner continued, and something had shifted. I could feel it, subtle, but real. I wasn't invisible anymore. People were looking at me differently, seeing me, noticing, maybe for the first time, that I wasn't the problem all these years. Afterward, as people gathered their coats and said goodbye, my aunt pulled me aside. I had no idea, she said quietly. I thought you were there. I just assumed. I gave her a small, tight smile. Yeah, so did a lot of people. She squeezed my hand. I hope she makes it up to you. I nodded, unsure what to say, because I wasn't sure either. But at least for the first time, Sophie was trying. A few days later, she texted me again. Hey, I know you're still mad, but I really want to fix things. Can I come over this weekend? Just to talk. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then finally, I typed back, okay, not I forgive you. Not, it's fine. Just, okay. Because healing takes time. But for the first time in our lives, Sophie was the one putting in the effort. And maybe, just maybe, that was a start.